welcome to Movie Review Mom. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. And thank you so much for all of your support. And if you're brand new to my YouTube channel, yay, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you. So, my goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can make the best decision for yourself as to whether or not you want to spend time or money or both watching a specific film. So that specific film that I'm reviewing today is Bullet Train. This crazy action thriller is now available in theaters. So the movie is rated R and is 2 hours and 5 minutes long. That's pretty long. And the movie review mom grade I'm giving it is a B minus. Now, hear me out. Don't leave. Let me explain why. I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll point out things I liked and didn't like, as well as offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, interesting lines, funny lines, and even recommendations for some other films that are sort of similar that I think you'll also really like. All right, so let's dive in. In a nutshell, Bullet Train was directed by David Leitch, who used to work as Brad Pitt's stunt double in multiple films. So in this movie, Brad Pitt actually did about 95% of his own stunts. We get to see a cameo performance of David Leitch when innocent victim number 17 gets blown up by a car. He knows how to create funny, crazy, and stylish action flicks like John Wick, Atomic Blonde, and Deadpool 2. The movie's based on the 2010 Japanese novel called Maria Beetle by Kataro Isaka. So I've been to Japan and even ridden their bullet train. So I was super excited to see what this movie would be all about. I often don't watch the trailers and I just go straight into the movie to review it. And so I was surprised at what I saw. First, let me tell you about the things that I liked. Brad Pitt, Channing Tatum, Sandra Bullock, all together. They actually had so much fun working on this movie that Sandra invited Brad to join the two of them, in their Netflix movie called The Lost City that came out just about 3 months ago. And in that movie, they looked like they had an awful lot of fun too. Brad Pitt's character was so charming and entertaining in this movie. Top it all off with a bucket hat, and this character will be memorable. Joey King plays an assassin, one of the many on this bullet train. And her assassin's name is Prince. That was interesting because just a few months ago, she actually played a movie princess in the movie called The Princess, where she kicked some serious butt. Her action moves and stunts were so impressive in that movie. So I was kind of expecting a lot of action from her in this movie, but really not so much. So that was interesting. Ryan Reynolds plays Carver. Did you catch that? Aaron Taylor Johnson and Brian Tyree Henry seem to be fan favorites of this cast, apart from Brad Pitt, who serves as the closest form of hero found in the story. Fun fact, the combination of the briefcase is 805, which is the date that the movie came out on August 5th. There are lots of fun twists and turns. The movie is absolutely fast paced. All of the characters are quirky, wildly irreverent, and entertaining. Keep watching during the final rolling credits for another scene. The fun musical score was by Dominic Lewis, who also did The King's Man, which is a movie that I recommend. If you like this movie, I think you're going to like that one, and vice versa. The humor in this movie is always welcome, although it doesn't always land. The scenes with the fancy Japanese toilets on the train just cracked me up. They really are amazing. I took my family to Japan a few years ago and we all absolutely loved it. I've never seen such luxurious toilets in my life before. They can do so many things. And one of the features is a perfect example of how sensitive and thoughtful the Japanese people are today. Sound effects on the toilet. So what that means is you can push a variety of buttons and you can play music or just make soft background noise so that other people in the restroom stalls next to you can't really hear what you're doing. You know what I mean? Since that can be sometimes embarrassing, I thought that's a pretty cool feature, right? The slow motion sequences in this movie are also really amusing. So there were some things I didn't like. First of all, the movie goes off on so many tangents and backstories that it's often hard to feel the fluidity of the story. The movie spends a lot of time talking about lemons and tangerines, and it's supposed to be funny, but it gets old pretty fast. Acts 2 and 3 feel a bit messy and forced, trying to pack in so many characters and plot points. There sure was a lack of trained staff around or to see or to prevent all of the action that was going on inside the compartments. So many times I'm like, where are the passengers? Where are the train staff? Conveniently, nobody was around, so they could do what they needed to do. The movie jumps back and forth in time a lot, which might confuse viewers. It seemed like Brad Pitt's character should have been named Prince, not Ladybug, while Prince's name should have been Ladybug. Does anybody agree with me? I wonder how much money Fiji Water paid to be featured in this movie. And it's not the only merchandising that you see. Let me give you some tips for parents. This movie is absolutely rated R and not appropriate for kids. There's profanity, including tons of F-bombs, but there is tons of violence with a high dead body count, with tons of brutal, violent deaths, lots of different weapons, so much blood. It's just gory and violent on steroids. So there were some themes that are illustrated very well in the movie, such as revenge, loyalty, quick thinking, friendship, judging people, answering for your crimes, fate, the importance of family, and living with a clear conscience. So I always write down funny lines and interesting lines while I'm watching the movie to give you a taste of what the movie feels like. And I have them all on my written review at moviereviewmom.com. So you can run over there, check those out. But I'll share a couple of them with you right now. So one of the funny lines is spoken by Ladybug, who's played by Brad Pitt. And he says, "I have to process this. I have a good therapist." And then there were actually a lot of really interesting lines. And I won't tell you all of the ones that I wrote down, but they really do a good job of epitomizing the character and the character's motivations. For example, Lemon is referring to Thomas the Tank Engine. He's played by Brian Tyree Henry. And he says, "Everything I've learned about people, I've learned from Thomas." And he's, of course, referring to Thomas the Tank Engine. And that's just kind of a quirky obsession that he has. But different characters will say very wise things. For example, Brad Pitt, especially towards the end of the movie, just keeps throwing out these little wise nuggets of wisdom. And he says, "When we are so quick to anger, we are slow to understand." And that's true. It's actually a really good line. White Death is played by Michael Shannon, and he says, "Nothing in life is an accident." And he absolutely lives his life that way. The Elder, who's played by Hiroyuki Sanada, says, "You have to control your fate before it controls you," which is an interesting idea because fate means you can't control anything. It's kind of meant to be, right? And yet this movie has a lot to do with controlling your fate or taking action to control your life or giving up all control and letting things just happen. And the characters have different perspectives on that. And then something happens towards the end and it's a terrible thing. And Brad Pitt says, "How do you know it's a bad thing?" He has some character development where, maybe the things that you think are bad really aren't that bad after all. Maybe they serve a purpose. Anyway, it's a very interesting movie, albeit very violent. Let me give you a recommendation really for two movies. And rather than listing specific movies, I'm going to say anything by Guy Ritchie to show off his stylistic violence. And then, of course, Quentin Tarantino, which is over the top, bloody, gory violence and all of that. So if you like those two movies, I think you're going to like this one too. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching and hearing my thoughts on this movie. Comment down below. Let me know if you watched it and what you thought. And if you didn't watch it, why you chose not to. And I suspect it's probably for the bloody violence. I don't know. Anyway, have a fantastic day and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.